What's up, interview hackers? Sam here from Byte.com, and in this video I want to keep it really short and sweet, and I want to tell you the one most important rule that you should consider when you are choosing what side project to do, and also whether you're going to do a side project at all. Right? Because we all know that side projects can be a really great way to get yourself out there. They can be a great way to build up your resume, especially if this is something where you feel like your resume is kind of standing in your way. Because we talked about this last week, having a great resume is super important when you're going out and applying for jobs, because it's not anymore just a matter of going out there and sending your resume out to thousands of people. You want to actually show them that your skills and your abilities align with the company, that you have what it takes. And so if you were going to do a side project, if you were going to build that into your resume and work on something, it is so important that you tackle this the right way. And so what is this number one rule? Well, the number one rule is to not overthink it. And I know this might sound obvious for a second, but here's what I see most people do when they want to build a side project. They decide, okay, well, if I'm going to build a side project, it needs to be something that everyone's going to want to use, right? It needs to be something that we can get 1 million users. It needs to be something that's totally unique and different and amazing. It needs to be something that, is going to demonstrate all of my skills in some meaningful way. It needs to be something that I'm excited about. And as you go on and on down this list, you realize, like, holy crap, there is nothing that fits all these credentials, right? That you can get so deep in the weeds of, like, it needs to be this, it needs to be that, it needs to be this other thing, that you never end up doing a side project at all, and that you end up, like, working on this for just, like, thinking about it for months and months and months and not actually doing anything. And so the most important thing to think about is, how can I not overthink this? How can I just pick something that is going to allow me to actually accomplish my goals? And so this is where you have to think really carefully about what is your goal when you were starting to do a side project, right? Like, is your goal to get 1 million users? Because if it is, that's fine, but that's very different than if your goal is to say, let me build up my resume by building some, like, sort of awesome technology. Or let me increase my skills in this area so that I can demonstrate for this company that I have this skill. Right? Those are all different things. And as soon as you get distracted from what the focus is of your side project, the sooner you're going to completely go off the rails, or the sooner you're going to end up where you're not actually making a decision. So what would be the perfect side project? Well, let's think about this for a second. If you wanted to build an app that had 1 million users, at that point, why are you looking for jobs anyway? If you could build an app that has 1 million users, you could monetize those and you could actually make a lot of money off of that. So you may as well actually build a company, because you're going to put in all the work to get those users. You're going to put in the work to build the app. It's got to be really good if it's going to support 1 million users, right? You can't just throw something together and then not support it. That's going to take all of your time. And also getting those users is going to be really, really hard. So if that's your goal, that's very different. Whereas if your goal is to get a job, what is the most important thing? It's to demonstrate that you have skills, right? It's to demonstrate that you have the specific skills that they want you to have. It's not to demonstrate that you're a great designer. It's not to demonstrate that you're a great project manager. It's to demonstrate that you are a great programmer. And so the best way to approach a side project is to pick something that you like using already and create a clone of it. I know this might sound kind of, sleazy or boring relative to, oh, I could make something that changes the world. But what you have to realize is you have to understand, what does it actually take to build an app that changes the world? No one built a side project that changed the world. And if they did, the only reason it changed the world is because it became their full-time thing. So when you're thinking about a side project, I love the idea of cloning something else for a couple reasons. One, someone has already done all the design work for you. Let's just, for example, say that we wanted to make a clone of Instagram. Do you need to come up with a logo for your app? No, you just use the Instagram logo. Do you need to figure out what the newsfeed is supposed to look like and what the behavior should be when you do different things? No, of course not. There are project managers and designers who've already figured that out for you. All you're doing is cloning it. And the goal here is not to get 1 million users. The goal is to learn how to build the thing, so nobody cares if you're using their assets for this thing that's just a side project for you to learn something new. Right? The only time that people get upset and the only time that there's a copyright infringement is if you built this and then you tried to be like, I invented this new thing called Instagram. Right? But you're not doing that. And that's not the point of doing a side project. The point is to learn a new technology. And so by doing this, you're able to also go in and say, okay, well, I don't want to have to come up with what the exact spacing is for everything. So let me look at the CSS and figure out, how do I just implement this? It becomes a very different project than if you were to build something from scratch, and it allows you to just jump in and start working. And honestly, like on the back end, you're still building everything yourself. So it's not like, you're not being hired to be a designer. Unless maybe if you're a front end engineer, maybe they expect you to do a little bit of design work. But most developers, that's not your expertise. And so, really what people are going to be interested in when they're looking at your side project is, how did you architect the back end of your app? What does the server look like? How are these different things integrating together? And that's the cool part. And then with that, you can draw on, okay, I want to learn this technology, or I want to learn that technology. Maybe you want to learn React Native. And so you say, okay, well, I'm going to make a clone of the Instagram app using React Native. Maybe you say, I know that Python is going to be really good for my coding interviews, so I want to learn how to use Python. Maybe you say, I'm excited about machine learning, so you just say, okay, I'm going to play around with TensorFlow, right? It doesn't matter so much whether people are going to use it. It doesn't matter whether it's stable. It's about learning. And so that's all I got for you today. The number one rule of building a side project is not to overthink it, and allow yourself to use it as a learning opportunity. Do the thing that is going to get you started as easily as possible. It's going to allow you to actually build a side project, actually build something that you can show people, and it's going to be much more valuable than trying to convince yourself that you have to come up with the next Facebook. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely come over to bytebybyte.com and check out our free guide, the 50 coding interview questions that you're going to see in all your interviews. It's just bytebybyte.com/50 questions. We've covered a ton of different questions in there. You got video solutions for all of them. We've had thousands and thousands of people download it now. So I hope you'll come join us, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.